Depending on how long you've been a fan of Yamaha, you might recall their 2004 YSP1 digital sound projector, which was a soundbar that used sonic beam and reflective technology to achieve 5.1 surround sound-like results from a single speaker. 20 years later, Yamaha's latest soundbar system, the True X Surround 90A, borrows inspiration from the YSP1. Mostly all-in-one Dolby Atmos-enabled home theater system, Yamaha's True X Bar is sold in two ways. The more basic option, known as the True X Bar 90A, comes with a soundbar and separate wireless subwoofer. And then there is the True X Surround 90A, which includes two wireless satellite surround speakers in addition to the soundbar and separate subwoofer. Now, Yamaha sent the full boat in order for us to have the full, True X experience. Now, one way Yamaha separates itself from other soundbars, like say the Sonos Arc Ultra or even the brand new Kev Zeo, is the way they give you two HDMI ports, one input and one eARC output. This allows you to connect an HDMI-enabled device like say a Blu-ray player or gaming console directly to the bar. However, gamers hoping for HDMI 2.1 features like 4K 120 pass-through and VRR, those are missing. So for some of you, the additional ports may end up being a bit of a wash. While I applaud Yamaha's forward thinking, I wish they had looked to other soundbar systems for guidance when settling on the True X setup process, because this is just not a plug-and-play soundbar. If you're considering the Yamaha or already own it, I hope this review will save you a little time and lessen the frustrations you may experience along the way. For starters, the Yamaha has three modes of controlling this system. There's the included remote, the MusicCast app, and then there is the on-screen display menus made visible on your television. I'm going to go ahead and save you the trouble. Skip the app for now and just go straight to the OSD to set this system up. Not to say that using the OSD won't still be tedious, as there's a lot of carryover from Yamaha's AVRs, but it is the most straightforward options, all things said and done. While most soundbar systems today automatically, quote, see all of their individual components as you power on the system, this is not the case with the Yamaha. You'll need to initialize all your components individually, and this may take a few times to get everything connected and synced. The good news is that once the Yamaha makes that connection to its sub and surround speakers, it never loses it. Now, I connected the Yamaha to the TCL QM 8K TV using the TCL's eARC enabled HDMI port with a high-speed HDMI cable. From there, I positioned the wireless subwoofer to the left of the bar and the wireless surrounds in the back corners of our room and pointed them towards our listening position. Now, taking a moment to talk about the surround speakers included in the True X system, which are battery powered. Even if you have years of experience with soundbars and wireless surround speakers, there is nothing intuitive about connecting the surrounds to the bar. First, you have to make sure they have juice by connecting them to their conductive charging pad, which is connected to a wall outlet via a USB cable. Now, Yamaha does not include wall warts with purchase, so you're probably going to have to go dig in your junk drawer for a pair of those. Now, good news, you can leave the surrounds on their charging pads throughout the setup process, or even indefinitely, as they do work while also charging. Just know that the included USB cables are around 24 inches in length, which may limit your surround placement options. As for the surround's battery life, they need recharging after about 2 days of intermittent use, but you may need to recharge them even sooner under more strenuous usage. As for setting up the surrounds, they power on as standalone Bluetooth speakers because, well, that's what they really are. Before turning them on, you must first place the main bar into its initialization mode, which again, use the OSD for this step. Upon powering on each surround, you must press and hold the registration button, which resembles the recycling symbol. Then, on the back of the speaker, wait for the left indicator light to stop blinking and turn solid, indicating sync with the bar. Repeat the process for the right speaker. Only while the left indicator light is blinking, press the registration button again to switch it to the right speaker. Yeah, note that both surround speakers default to being the left channel. You may need to repeat this process multiple times before a proper sync is established, but like with the subwoofer, once sync is achieved, the surrounds will automatically reconnect with the bar once you turn them back on. Now, I'm not sure why the system's initial setup procedure is not automatic or handled entirely in the app via a step-by-step prompt or animation, but when it comes to the initial setup process, the Yamaha is one of the more frustrating experiences I've had in a long time. Now, ours was, quote, an early sample, so what I've described may or may not apply to you. Additionally, you may also encounter issues with CEC upon unboxing because control over HDMI or CEC does not appear to be enabled by default. So before you think something is broken, try using the included remote to launch the OSD to activate CEC on the Yamaha. FYI, as of this review, there's no way to engage the bar's CEC settings from within the app. You only have access to these settings and more settings through the bar's on-screen menu. Speaking of the app, MusicCast is nothing new. It's Yamaha's do-everything app. We've used it with success on some of our favorite products, like the 1000A and 2000A, but for some reason with the bar, it appears to be neutered and isn't all that useful unless you just want to stream music. And before some of you ask, why not use YPow or some other form of auto setup and or room correction like you can on, say, Sonos or Sony? Trust me, I would have if either had been offered, but the Yamaha has no auto or even manual room correction of any kind. You can't even adjust the levels of the main left, center, and right speakers. Only the subwoofer, surrounds, and upward firing drivers can be adjusted. As far as tone controls go, you get bass boost as well as simple bass and treble sliders. That's it. Why YPow, Yamaha's answer to Dirac and Odyssey, isn't present with this system is a question only Yamaha can answer. Including YPow would have made the 90A much more competitive, something it sorely needs at this higher price point. Now, before you take to the comments and start bagging on this product, at least I can say that once I had everything fully up and running, there is a lot about the Yamaha sound that I found enjoyable. Tonally, the system sounds good. It's shockingly full-bodied from the bass to the mid-range. The subwoofer's bass provides an impressive and solid foundation for the bar, even though it doesn't really play all that comfortably below 40 Hertz. The sub is crossed over around 100 Hertz, again evident in my measurements. And while there is a measurable and observable dip at the crossover point, action films like F1 still sounded great. Even Christy was impressed by the bass output and detail. I'm not sure, honestly, how Yamaha did it, but this sub sounds bigger and more powerful than it technically is, especially considering how cheaply it's made. The mid-range leans more neutral to perhaps forward, especially with the sub disconnected, but with the sub engaged, mid-range leaning instruments and vocals like, say, mine had terrific weight and dimension, showcasing a near seamless blend between the bar and the sub. Dialogue intelligibility is far improved by activating the bar's clear voice setting, and that's a setting Christy preferred. We always had clear voice on because otherwise the dialogue stem was buried in the mix, and that's something I have no explanation for. I wish there were levels of clear voice, like low, medium, and high. These are options other brands give you because this setting does juice the treble to a notable degree. For my personal taste, I had to use the treble slider to back the highs down about 3 dB for the bar's high frequencies to sound more natural. While the tweeters used in the 90A provide for good extension and easily hit frequencies often associated with, words like brilliance and sparkle, they're just a little too energetic for my taste, spiking as much as 5 dB at 10 kHz, which could become fatiguing. Now, it didn't bother Christy, but it gave me a headache when we were listening at higher volumes. Now, this system has 4 sound profiles. There's Surround AI, Straight, which just processes the signal as is, Stereo, and 3D music. Yamaha's Surround AI setting is said to analyze the incoming signal several times every few seconds to create the most convincing and natural surround sound experience in real time. To be clear, it is not making adjustments to the speaker's response in your room. Again, it's not room correction. It merely adjusts the stereo or even multi-channel signal to take full advantage of all of the system's speakers. Now, I found the AI setting to be clearer and more precise in its placement of sounds when using Dolby as the surround decoder compared to Auro 3D, which is the bar's default. You'll find this setting in the Yamaha's on-screen menu. Initially, both Christy and I were less than thrilled with the system's just overall clarity, specifically dialogue stems, which, again, sounded far too buried in the mix. Never mind, surround sound placement and spatial performance on a whole was just not all that impressive. But this was all before I realized that everything was being upmixed using Auro 3D. In contrast, when I switched the decoder to Dolby, many of our opinions changed, and the system's just overall coherence, tonality, and clarity improved. Using the straight sound profile yielded even better results, both objectively and subjectively. Now, because the surround speakers do not have upward firing drivers, all your side and overhead sound effects rely on the Soundbar's 12 upward firing speakers, which borrow technology from the YSP1 I mentioned at the top of this review. As far as overhead atmospheric Atmos effects go, the Yamaha is okay. It isn't Sony Quad or Sonos level good, but it's much better than the Kef Zeo. The Yamaha should work best in rooms with ceilings that aren't too high and in rooms that have parallel walls to help with the bar's surround reflectivity. If your ceiling heights are closer to 10 feet or higher, or you have an irregular shaped room, you may find the Yamaha to sound inferior to the competition, specifically the Sony Theater Quad or Sonos Ultimate Surround System. The rear speakers are definitely needed for the 90A to achieve a full 360-degree sound field, as the bar, at least in my testing, never achieved even 180 degrees of immersion all on its own. Now, the surrounds may not have upward firing drivers, but I still need to give credit where credit is due. Their range is incredible. Even at distances nearing 30 feet, they maintained connection and had no dropouts, which might be a new record. Despite not having upward firing drivers, this system's strength is still playing back Dolby Atmos movies. At volumes at 70 dB and higher in room, the whole system really is in its happy place. When it comes to music listening, this system is a mixed bag, which I found very surprising given that I tend to really like Yamaha amplifiers for music. When it comes to stereo sound, the Yamaha was inconsistent. What do I mean by inconsistent? Well, if you feed the Yamaha a Dolby Atmos track, the True X sounded better. But send it a non-Dolby signal and it was a roll of the dice as to what you were going to get. Take the Trio frequency with their new single Top Down. That sounded awesome. The scale and presence, especially down low, was incredibly impressive. However, put on John Batiste's Beethoven stomp and the Yamaha sounded anemic and a little more treble forward rather than the balanced top to bottom sound I'm used to hearing on other systems. Even John's Yamaha piano was confined almost entirely to the bar, and there were numerous examples of the True X struggling with stereo mixes like this. If I placed the system in its strict stereo or direct sound profile, the sound was too center weighted for my taste, so for me, music listening on the Yamaha was hit or miss. While there are aspects of the Yamaha sound and day-to-day performance that I enjoyed, again, tonally, it is very nice and the sub is surprisingly good. Taking a bird's eye view of the entire user experience, given this system's starting price of $2,800 up to $3,500 for the complete package, the True X would not be my first or even second choice. I know everyone is bound to prioritize aspects of a product's performance differently. If your main goal is watching Dolby Atmos movies, then the True X system could be considered competitive. However, I believe there are other options that will give you a solid home theater experience without all the fine print. Now, how would I improve this system? At a minimum, the app needs a complete overhaul. You should be able to fully control and customize this system within the app. Relying on an outdated OSD borrowed from aging receivers isn't enough when competing against other systems, especially when they cost less and offer more. One has to only imagine how much better the user experience could be if Yamaha had included Y-Power, some sort of truly automatic setup procedure. In the end, it's clear, at least to me, that Yamaha designed a new bar in the 90A and then took existing products and software to make them all work together. And I believe that that is this system's Achilles heel. So that's it. That is now my review of Yamaha's True X Surround 90A. What did you guys think? Do you agree with me? Have I completely missed the mark? It's all about the sound that matters. Forget the setup and the day-to-day. I want to know. I want to know because sometimes I know I can harp on certain things that don't matter to you and vice versa. So let's get the conversation going. I want to know what you think. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching this video, and do try and remember the only person who has to like the sound of your system in the end is you. So happy listening, everybody. Again, thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you on the next video. Bye.